their phones so we could have the best microphone service going here.
Team on team 6. So I get the light comes right. Last week, on Tuesday.
I'd like to welcome everyone this morning to the Federation Board of Directors meeting. And Madam Secretary, if you would please do roll call.
Sure. President Daniels.
I'm here.
Vice President Gundry.
Here.
Treasurer Resnick.
Present.
Director Bardell.
Here.
Director Harnois.
Here.
Director Martin.
Here.
Director Ricketts.
Present.
Director Shaw.
Here.
Madam President, we have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Let's call the meeting to order. And if we could please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, the first order of business. First of all, does anybody know where the coldest place in America is this morning?
Embarrass Minnesota.
Close, but no. I'm sure it's really cold over there. It is cold in Buffalo. But Helena, and where's Helena? There you go, look at all these geography business. It is a cool 24 degrees this morning, so there you are. And we're back to finally Florida weather. Thank God that we're back to Florida weather. It's been even I had to put on a sweatshirt the past couple of days.
Oh my, it's not working.
I know, I can hear it. My phone is off. Scott, I don't want to hear it, my phone is off.
Let's try this.
All right, first order of business is the approval of the November 1st Federation Board draft meeting minutes.
Diane, it's not working.
I know, I'm trying to talk really loud.
Take that, it's on.
You don't need it, really.
I know.
It should be on.
It's on. Good morning, okay. So the first order of business is the approval of the November 1st Federation Board draft meeting minutes. Can I have someone moved for motion to approve?
So moved.
Wow, that was very fast. Let me see. We'll say Jim first and then Stephen second. All right. Discussion, any changes, additions, removals? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So moved. All right, we're on to management reports. And the way we play this game, Paul, is that I decide every time we have a meeting who's going to go first. You never know. Okay, I decide. So this morning I will let Matt go first. Okay, this morning from Beston. Thank you, Matt.
Just an honor and a privilege, thank you. All right, let's roll right into this. I know we want an expedited meeting in a way. Total gym usage for the month of November, 10,000. You'll see that number slowly increase over time, especially in January as New Year's resolutions come in, but 10,000 visits is quite a bunch. Service and merchandise sales for the spa and salon, around 25,000, with about 756 services performed. Food and beverage, that's a fun number. Almost 9,000 patrons served at the Salad Club. Total food and beverage sales, $244,000. Eddie is here. His stretch goal for the month was $250,000. Eddie failed. Just kidding. Great job. You and the team did a phenomenal job. In fact, that number is a 10% year-over-year growth. Thank you for pushing so much
Thank you,
activity in
Eddie.
November post-hurricane.
Thank you, Beston.
He came into my office yesterday and he kind of had his head down a little bit. And I was like, listen, man, you did great, 10% year over year. The fantastic part about that is when we talked about the Paradise Palm bar and that was being built, would it cannibalize sales, would it not? That growth, when you do the math, can almost strictly be attributed to the bar. About $19,000 in sales in November, so that's
You're very
that's pretty
welcome.
cool. Was that 18,000 of yours?
17.
There we go. Now we know our two heavy users. Laperque sales over $8,000 for the month, which was a 3% year-over-year growth. Guest pass sales, 9% increase over prior year at $6,100. The 24-25 projects, the outdoor pool lighting project, I keep saying it, we're getting closer. There are some maintenance issues there, and then we're working through that, but the pool signage, we've altered and fixed according to the county, so I won't address that anymore. Nantucket pool update, repairs to the heaters, gas lines, and igniters have all been completed because, God forbid, only one of them go out at one time. We had all three. Indoor pool. I just went and had a nice visit with the folks in there. They were enjoying their pool because we've had some fun in there. That's back up to temp. Along the lines of the pools, the hot tubs, the spa, or I guess the saunas, we're going to try something new. We've had a very interesting week with things going out. And if I'm an end user, if I'm a resident and I come up to the amenities and something like the pool is not working, that can be quite frustrating. So here's what we're going to try to do. We are going to post any pool closures, heating adjustments, anything like that with sauna and the rooms in the bathrooms. Anything heavy maintenance related, we're going to try to start posting on the website in real time. When I say in real time, there'll be a maintenance tab, and if the indoor pool is out for the heater, instead of having to come up here and find out and have a negative user experience, you can find that in real time. We'll start email blasting that out. It's going to be a kind of a fluid, ongoing process, and we'll have some bumps in the road with that. But instead of sending out novels with all the emails as well, there'll be a link to the updated maintenance items. So we're going to try that because I don't want you all to come up here looking to jump in the hot tub and all of a sudden it's not working, then you've gone out of your home and you have a negative experience. So we're going to try that. We'll see how it works. We'll communicate it out. It'll live and breathe. But I think that makes for a better end user experience. So that's coming. Denny's actually working on that now. So stay tuned on that. Hurricane Milton, we've gone back and forth with the adjuster maybe 74 times in the past week. We keep being told next week. It is now next week. So honestly, I think we'll get some answers next week. And we'll continue to communicate those pieces of information to the board, and then we can start tackling a lot of the things, including the tennis court fence and some other stuff, because there's some further dialogue that'll be done there. Some good news, Winter Series shows. Scott sent me the new number this morning. Obviously, the first round of shows have sold out. The second round that were approved to be put on, $117,000 of revenue on a contract cost of approximately $45,000. So that $72,000 again goes back to the community to offset costs in the future. So it's great news that people are participating and coming out. Pop-up shows January 2nd and January 27th. I think you have a list on your tables of a number of programs, activities, events, including the December 9th celebration of the holidays. It's crazy to think that that's been 4 years, as I see Jack, who was a part of those meetings years ago, and Chris, and it's been an interesting 4 years with that, but we hope to see you. Ticket sales for the dining portion are ending today. In fact, we extended it to today. We do have some openings, so we hope to see you there. I won't read all the activities because there are so many. Tram services, residents using the tram, about 700, very consistent. I looked back at some data, it seems to be a very consistent number over time. Gate operations, 8,000 phone calls for the month, 3,300 miles driven. A number of wellness checks were completed and all reports were positive. So, quick version.
Okay, and we have Dan here. Okay,
Dan, are you there?
Is it? I'm here. Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
yes, we can, Dan.
Excellent. Okay, I'll go right through it then. Hopefully you have your 8-page report in front of you. I'm only going to touch on the very highlights and allow you to stop me in case there are questions. First page, of course, is your statement of financial position, otherwise known as your balance sheet. We compare the most recent quarter ended 9/30 to the last fiscal year end, and then there's a change column. Going very briefly through the subtotals, you can see cash decreases by about $77,000. That's very normal. If you look at the next section down, the last line in there, construction work in process, goes up by $79,000. So that's pretty much the entirety of change in cash. There are other line items always moving, accounts payable, accounts receivable, etc. But they mostly all offset, and it's all your investment in your construction that's changed cash. Going on down, land and improvements, that total property and equipment section, we don't capitalize during the year, so there's only a change to the accumulated depreciation. Same thing with the next section, the leases, we do amortize it as it goes along, but there's no changes. Looking down at your liabilities section, the next two sections are very normal changes. Total current liabilities is slightly down, about 19 grand. And of course your long-term debt, that's your loan amortizing, goes down by 648,000 there again on that subtotal. Page 2, you can see that this is the statement of financial positions. consolidating report. We don't generally talk about it. It's the detail of bringing all the departments together to the subtotal on the right that ties to the page we just looked at. Page 3 is your statement of cash activities, otherwise known as a profit and loss or an income statement. Here we compare the 6 months year to date to the budget for that same period, and then the variance column on the right-hand side. Just looking at the subtotals, first actually let's go all the way to the bottom right-hand corner, and you can see a positive number of $104,000 rounded. That's good news. When it's positive in the bottom right, it's always good news. Going back up along that right-hand column, you can see the totals. Revenue variance is $90,000 positive, and then your total operating expense, right about the halfway point, is $81,000 negative number, but that's a favorable. When we're talking about expenses, that's favorable. When they add together to the next subtotal, you got $172,000 rounded, of course. For operations, it's positive. A few numbers offset that, some special approvals in the next section, and reduce that down to the $103,000 that is in the bottom right-hand corner. Now, go to page 4. Page 4, of course, is the consolidating, where we're adding all the numbers together to get the page we just looked at. I won't touch on that unless you have any questions.
I do have one question, Dan. Dan, I have a question.
Yes.
Are you in the United States or on another business trip?
I am in the United States. I'm in Jacksonville.
No, that's all right. I'm just joking with you. Go ahead.
Okay, good. If you go to page 5, of course, pages 5 through 8 are just the actual versus budgets. They have 2 sets of columns, the most recent quarter on the left and the year-to-date on the right. In each case, we'll just look at the bottom right-hand corner so we can do this quickly. If you go to the bottom right-hand corner of the page 5, you can see it's a negative number. So that is a case where we're off budget by that $68,000. If you want to look back up to the middle of the page, you can see where it is. That's the board-approved non-budgeted items. Remember, that's special deferred maintenance and or capital stuff that comes up during the year at $90,000. Now going to page 6 is the rec area. This is, of course, where the bulk of your activities occur. Bottom right-hand corner number, positive number, very large, $165,000 through 6 months. That's an excellent result. If you want to look at the individual variances in the accounts, of course, take your eyes up that right-hand column as you go up and ask any questions that you may have. Page 7 is the security department. It's a negative number, but a slight negative number, $4,500. Unfavorable, that's a hard word for me to say, favorable to budget situation through 6 months. But if you look at the left-hand column, you can see it was a favorable position to budget, so we're making a comeback there. Good luck to that team. Go to page 8, and bottom right-hand corner, you can see a very positive, very large number compared to the budget size of about $11,000 favorable to budget for transportation. So good results all the way around. Security is going to make a comeback, and of course you saw the consolidated number of about I think it was $103,000 favorable. Any questions?
Anybody else on the board? Okay, Dan, very good. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks guys. Have a good meeting.
You too. Have a good day, Dan. Okay, with that, now we're going to be turning it over to First Service. And for those of you who are here the first time, this is Paul Stern. He's our new general manager at First Service, and this is his first management report.
So
Good luck.
exciting.
Good luck.
So exciting. Day 12, for anyone that's counting days, day 12, so be patient with me. So good morning to everybody. My contact information is on this memo. One thing that I'll mention to the board is, first of all, thanks. Happy to be here. The second thing is, you'll notice that my doors are open. In the office, that's my style. I would much rather have you come meet with me, call me, email me, whatever, and get issues handled in an expedient way as opposed to just waiting for a meeting. So just feel comfortable doing that. I would welcome you to come on in. So with that said, I have kind of a lengthy memo, but I'm going to make it quick. I'm going to make it quick by not reading this to you. We're in the midst of the budget season, as most people know. The revisions were due back to First Service today, so we're making good progress on that. All of the different associations work on a slightly different timeline, and we're moving through that process. You'll be happy to know that the new resident orientation meetings are resuming in January. I am working with Cheryl. Thank you. Yes, so the backdrop to that is we're trying to take some of the things that we're learning from our own front desk when people first close on a home or move in and they're there trying to get their parking decal and so forth. Taking the questions that we hear there and make sure that they're reinforced, the answers to those questions are reinforced during this monthly meeting. And then as we do more and more of those, it'll just get better and better and better based on what we're hearing out of the audience during those meetings. So it'll be an iterative presentation and just get better as time goes by. But they'll happen every month, and we've decided the third Tuesday of the month is a decent time slot, 10:30 a.m. Plenty of time to get coffee and be awake by 10:30, so that should be pretty amenable. Another little nugget is we're happy to take part in the disaster planning efforts, and wherever that comes to rest, we can include it in what I was speaking about a moment ago. So when people come in and are submitting their applications for their parking pass, whatever that disaster planning guide ends up being, we can disseminate it there. We can reinforce all of that during those monthly new resident orientation meetings.
Yeah, before you talk about a little bit with the disaster, what happened was the Federation Board asked leaders from our different governing bodies, from Chris Robinson from the Masters, we had Mary Ann Meeker from the Disaster Planning Committee, we had Eileen from the COA, and we had Matt and Paul from the management companies, and we got together and we had a lot of things to talk about. Okay, Milton was a hell of a hurricane, okay, for us here, and there were things that went good, and there were things that we really needed to improve and we learned from. So we're getting together, we're talking about it, we're working together to make improvements so that if something, God forbid, would happen again here, things would be a little more smoothly. So that's what Paul is referring to right now.
Exactly, thanks for that, Diane. Something almost, ministerial here, the First Service office changed their telephone system. The first couple weeks had a few hiccups. It's on Microsoft Teams. We've gotten those new phone numbers out onto the website and figured out whatever little challenges we have there, and our ability to answer a call and be responsive is, that's smoothed out, or so we think. Until next time you call us, of course, right? I guess the big news literally yesterday, for anybody that didn't read this on their own over CNN or whatever website you prefer, the Corporate Transparency Act seems to have been basically turned over, right, Sharif?
Yeah, paused.
Paused. So there's more to come. Yeah, woohoo, right? More to come on that, however. So our guidance basically is just pump the brakes. We need to let the legal system do what they do, but we're just going to pause on that as it relates to encouraging boards to get that accomplished. We're just pumping the brakes for them on that. So there's more to come. That'll be something we'll probably be talking about briefly at each one of these until it's 100% settled. There's another memo coming out about, thank you for that. There's another memo coming out from us today that the board presidents will get that is just on that subject. I'm sorry, Jim.
No, I was just going to say, when you're dealing with attorneys, it's probably going to be years.
Can't hear.
This is straightened out, so. All I was going to say is when you're dealing with attorneys, it's going to be years by the time all this is straightened out.
Yeah, exactly.
My only comment.
Yeah.
It's the great state of Texas that caused the pause. Not that I'm from Texas, but.
Well, in regard, where's my Texas man? Is he here this morning? We have a lot of representatives from Texas, so, from all 50 states, as a matter of fact. So, but one thing I do have a little concern with, Paul, is that this is coming out of the federal court in Texas.
Correct.
This is not coming out of the Supreme Court or anything like that, so,
No, it's been validated with all the attorneys in Florida, because we received emails from them as well, that pause, even our
Okay.
corporate company said pause nationwide.
okay, so we're gonna be having that disseminated, correct?
Today.
Right? Okay, good. All right,
Today.
thank you.
Yeah, I mean, this broke late in the afternoon, maybe 4:30 yesterday, so this is pretty recent. I actually had to edit this memo. I mean, I had the memo done. In any case, last but not least, the hurricane leniency is now over as it relates to the landscaping inspections. The gradings are resumed, and we intend to hold everybody accountable as everyone desires. And the next landscape grading meeting was scheduled for the 18th. The last but not least on landscaping, we are investigating upkeep, and between now and the next monthly edition of this meeting, we'll have a definitive, yes, we're transitioning to that, or not, and if it ends up being a not, I'll be able to explain why. But our initial sense is that it would make sense to get all onto upkeep. So that's something we intend to do. And that is the short version of 2 pages worth.
Well, thank you very much, Paul. You made it through the first report.
Barely.
You made it.
Barely.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, on to any committee reports, right? From the insurance committee.
We've had, no, it doesn't work. We had a meeting.
Hold on, wait a minute, I got it.
As some of you may be aware, we had a meeting yesterday in the Veterans Theater, and the insurance adjuster, who is heading the plan, or the, not the plan, but the estimating for our community after Hurricane Milton, as well as our brokers were there. It was I thought fairly well attended, and I think everyone's questions were answered. At this point, as you may be aware if you were in it, by the way, that meeting was videotaped, right, Scott? It was videotaped? Yeah, it was videotaped yesterday, and you can see it if you weren't available to be at the meeting, and whatever questions were there, you could get the answers to. They did mention about the new, we did have part of it about the new agency that we're looking at starting. And at this point, I can't tell you an awful lot more than what Adam told you yesterday, but I can tell you, based on what he said, when he said we could keep 100% of the revenue, that they don't want any of the commissions from it, my estimates were 100% or 50% off. It's much more money than I expected it would be. And that's about all we're doing.
Awesome. Shirley, you got anything? I'm sure you got a vaccine or something.
They're not losing.
Hello. It's on? Okay. So I had my health and welfare meeting. We meet monthly. Some of the concerns had to deal with the cone placement and the ability to see the cones coming in the front. So Pete was there, and he's going to look into that. The other things were, let me think. The other things were that we needed to take a look at the pools, but Matt had already covered that they're coming back online. And I think that was about it that we talked about. Now, COVID, again, coming in the spring, and it's been here in the fall. According to the CDC, people over 65 are going to be recommended to take 2 COVID vaccines. One now, one in the spring, instead of just one like in previous years. Again, talk to your physician about this. It's up to them. I have found out that a lot of physicians aren't going to carry COVID. You're going to have to get it through Walgreens, CVS, somebody, because they're not going to stock it like they used to in years. So that's my report.
Thank you.
The traveling microphone. Okay. The treasurer's report, that was what we pretty much got all the money from Dan Armstrong. And just quickly from the president's report, I just want everyone to know that we are working as quickly and efficient as we can with present issues like the landscaping, the tree services that we hear, a lot of you that bring up issues all the time. So we're really working hard to correct a lot of these issues so that you don't have to keep constantly telling us, and me and Matt and Paul don't have to have nightmares about it every night. So we're working on it. It's a beautiful holiday season, and I just want to thank Vesta, the event committee, and what's the other one, the tree, jeez. I am so sorry. There's another committee, it might be the Barbara Streeter, I think, is on it, and they did a beautiful job. Don't the decorations look absolutely gorgeous in this building throughout? So thank you for everyone to do that, to bring some holiday cheer to everyone, especially after the hurricane. It really looks beautiful, and I want to thanks so much, Matt and the team. Tosh, I know you had a big part of that, so thank you, sweetie. And Victoria, there you are, right next door. Okay, thank you, ladies. All right. Okay, let's move on. Open forum. We have anybody on open forum? All right, Sandy Collins from Oakley Group. Good morning. No.
I'll turn it on.
I don't think it's on.
The little button right there.
Should be in the middle of it.
Where you're talking.
And then there's a 5-second.
Then give it a second and it should come on with the microphone.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. These are just some questions that I have about the emergency squad contract that you're going to be talking about. And I'm kind of new to this, so I'm not sure whether these are the questions I should be asking now or later, but this is the time frame that I was told. So first thing is, I think this board was previously had this on their agenda, and it was asked to have an attorney to review the contract. And did that occur?
Yes,
Okay.
on both sides.
Okay. What will this contract bring to Kings Point over what we already voluntarily contribute to?
And we'll talk about that in new business.
Okay. Is there a monetary requirement to the contract? And if not this year, will there be going forward, and will it escalate?
And we'll talk about that.
And what is the length of the contract? Same thing. Are other communities besides Kings Point engaging in contracts?
Okay, and we're going to have Mike Bardell come up and talk, so he might be able to answer that for you.
Okay. And since it is a voluntary organization and the service relies on volunteers, how will they be able to provide a service beyond or with an insured contract? But again, I'm not sure what's in the contract. And I think that's it.
Very good questions, and I appreciate that, Sandy, and we absolutely will be talking about that. And thank you for bringing that to our attention. Where's Linda? Linda! Come on up, and maybe you better take that out so that you'll be able to talk into it. There you go. Beautiful. It's on.
Thank you. My name is Linda Atkins. I'm the new president of Bedford H.
My condolences.
Chuck Bithall died a few days ago, and his funeral is today from 2:30 to 5 o'clock. If anybody wants to go across the street.
Linda, I'm so sorry. I didn't hear who that was.
Chuck Bithall.
Oh.
He's the previous president. I have Paul Beat. We haven't even had the paperwork done yet.
Oh.
I'm the new president of Bedford H. He passed away as soon as I took it.
Jeannie?
Could you put your hand up, please? She's lived here for 2 months. She decided to help me and be the landscape person because our treasurer works at the gate full-time, so I'm not going to say anything else on that. But you see that I'm here right now, and I just have one question. Should I not be able to stay on the board, and we can't keep a board? I have heard that we have to pay a fee per unit owner, can you please let me know how much that fee is?
Well, the thing will, it would go into what's called receivership. You would have an attorney that would represent the association.
What would be the fee for the unit owner?
I can't tell you what that would be, but why don't you come up afterwards, after the meeting, okay? And let's just get some information from you and let's see how we can help you, guide you in the right
I'll
direction.
do the best I can, but
I know you will.
with Milton just being hit, and I lost my air conditioner,
Okay.
found out that my roof hasn't been done well for the last 20 years. They've been putting things on top of things instead of doing it correctly.
Yeah.
And that was part of the reason why I lost the air conditioner that I had to pay for up front, and I still haven't been reimbursed for. Thank goodness I had the money to pay for it up front. Not very happy about that. But I'll do the best I can, but as you can see, I have some of my own challenges. So I just wanted to be upfront, and I want to ask to be able to tell the unit owners what the fee would be.
Okay, so please come on up after the meeting, okay? So we can guide you probably with your camp and get you started to understand some of the guidelines for being on the board, okay?
Okay.
And we
Well,
do-
I've been on it before, but there's been a lot of.
I understand, and I thank you, and the woman in the back who's only been on for 2 days, thank you for stepping up. Okay. Is there anyone else?
Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Okay, we'll move on. We have no unfinished business, and the new business is going to be the approval of the emergency squad contract. Mike Bardell, do you want to come on up?
Okay. Okay, first of all, I'm going to turn around a little bit, all right? Okay, some of you know the emergency squad. I mean, we've been in existence for 60 years. It's always been voluntary. Everyone is a volunteer in the squad, to include myself. Nobody gets paid. Medical equipment and services are very expensive. If you haven't noticed that, look at your hospital bill the last time you came out. They go in, they start at $10,000 and they go up from there. It's just expensive. One of the reasons why we can cut down on costs is because everybody is a volunteer. But we do have equipment that we use. For example, each one of those ambulances you see running the street are over $400,000. The van is $70,000. Our insurance is around $120,000. And all of those little Band-Aids and bandages when you get cut that we bunch up to you, I don't think anybody can ever say they've ever received a bill from the emergency squad. It's all part of the service that we do. Kings Point has not always been serviced by the emergency squad. Up until 1986, you were serviced by Apollo Beach Emergency Squad. You can't go back to them because they went out of business. As the reason why we are the only volunteer agency in the state of Florida for about the last 20 years. Prior to that, there were a lot of people, but it's very costly to do, and we were the last survivor and have been for about the last 20 years. The volunteers have been very good all the way up through here. Do we need more? Sure we do. But we have been able to do it. How many people here have either been taken by the emergency squad or have know somebody that's been transported by the emergency squad? So I think we're out there. We also do a lot of education with telling you, we do blood pressure checks, we do equipment loan out, especially if you've got relatives coming in. They don't want to take that wheelchair on the plane and come down here. You can come borrow one from us, take it there, and then guess what? You get rid of that piece of equipment when they leave. So it's just the services, but these classes on how to help. We just did a class on advanced life support. Advanced life decisions. Because most of us are going to die. And you need to make the appropriate plans, for that, for your money, to give your money where you want to go. If you don't care about where your money goes and you want to help the government out, I understand they're in need, then just leave it like it is. But if you want the money to go where you want it to go, then you need to look at your plan to make sure that it will work. And if you came from another state, you're going to need to know, is that still in effect here? Because it may not be. And I didn't say that, that was the word of an attorney who told me that. So you need to look at these kind of things beforehand. Now, you don't have to have the emergency squad service in Kings Point. There are 4 ambulance companies in the Tampa Bay area, and you could get any one of them to do it, and the county would then assign one to you. There will be no more free trip at all, because when they roll, you're paying it. And my understanding is their fees start out at about $1,100 for a trip. As you know, you don't get a trip cost with us, we just do it. But it's all part of that neighbors helping neighbors. And there's a lot of people in this, even in this room that I look out at, that are volunteers on the emergency squad. I think it's been a very beneficial organization over the years to what it's had in here. You used to have a contract with Apollo Beach Emergency Squad. I'm sure you paid. They didn't drive down here from Apollo Beach for nothing, I'm sure. But with the emergency squad, the developer, which his name was Hoffman, I believe, in 1987, between Mr. Hoffman and the emergency squad, they came up with an agreement. $2.50 per month per home was the agreement that was made. That has been in that way since 1987. It has never raised, it has never changed. I was asked a few years ago if I wanted to increase it, and I said no. We made a commitment, we'll stay with that. And that's exactly what this new one is saying, is the same kind of commitment. We want just something, that won't fix our needs. Our annual budget is about $500,000. So you can see that $2.50 won't exactly fix it. But what it does is it makes it more consistent. We found over the years that the insurance company and TECO are not very accommodating in saying we got to wait till we get some donations in. So that's the reason why this is. It's the float money that we need every year to keep those continuing expenses going on. Okay, I guess you want me to take questions now, right?
No. I mean, you could save that, because that'd be for the membership, because only the board's voting on this today, right? Well, you could stay for us to answer questions. Okay? All right. First, let's get a motion to move to approve the contract for the Sun City Center Ambulance Squad contract. Okay. Stephen? And thank you, Randy. Okay. Discussion. Richard?
Yes, thank you. My concern. Okay. Well, when I tap on it, it does, but then when I talk into it, it doesn't. So there you go. My concern is only with the effective date, because as Paul mentioned in his report, budgets are due today. I know there's at least a couple associations that have chosen not to put the $250 in, and I don't know where that money would come from. There are times when I think the federal, for the palm fertilization contract and other potential things down the road, where I'm more than comfortable saying the Federation can pay, but because any payment we make would explicitly benefit just a handful of associations, maybe only 2, maybe a couple more than that, I'm uncomfortable with saying the Federation will plug the gap, even though that gap is going to be small. I think when we spend money, we should be spending it for the good of the entire community. And of 113 associations, I don't know how many might have opted out this year, but my guess is no more than 4 or 5. So we've already got 110 that are in, maybe. And I would prefer an effective date of 4/1/26 when we can just put it through everybody's budget the way we used to do it.
Send them a bill.
Okay, in regards to the budgets, for services doing the budgets now, I just was there yesterday and we had to have ours changed. Okay, I don't see why it would be, if the membership votes for it, why that couldn't be changed. I mean, it's not very difficult to be changing that for the budget.
Associations have already had board meetings and approved the number. We approved our number this earlier.
Could you have them talk into the mic?
Well,
We had a board of directors meeting, we approved our number earlier this week. So it creates an issue if we need to go back and revise, not that we do, I mean, we have very strong support for the squad, so our 250's in anyway, but I'm trying to think about how those that may have opted out would handle this.
Contact president. If there's so few.
That's administrative. I don't see the difficulty in that.
Well, I was going to say, it's fine for the budgets that are prepared, these are to be mailed out to the owners of these various associations, I understand that. In our case, we discussed this again at the annual meeting, and at the board at that time, we made changes in our budget at the annual meeting last year.
Right.
Yeah.
So you can still do that. I mean, it's not, just because it goes back to first service today, that's your non-actual budget.
Right.
That is not approved until your the new board at your annual meeting approves that,
Correct, exactly.
which are starting in January, correct?
Yes.
So I'm just saying, I realize people have approved budgets, et cetera, but you can make a change in them at the annual, the board at the annual meeting makes the changes and approves it.
Yes.
Okay, I want to make sure everybody understands that.
So I don't think that, we'd have to worry about that point, Richard. Okay, that's all administrative and it can be taken care of.
Your mic's working.
It's actually Angela's.
I'll just mention that contradicts something that I had heard in prior years from First Service folks that say, yeah, it has to be final, we don't change it after December, whatever.
All right, well, that's not going to happen, Richard.
No, because the insurance part is going to go.
If it needs to be changed, it gets changed because annual meetings occur and budgets have to be approved at that time. Okay, other members of the board, discussion.
Yeah, Mike, I want you to know I am in full support of the emergency squad. The question I have is, are you working with other communities in and around Sun City Center to develop contracts or to develop some sort of a way for them to contribute to the emergency squad?
Yes, we're working with them. I've met with the CA board. I've met with the CA presidents. They're a little bit different organization than we are here because they have over 200 HOAs, but some of them are un-HOA, 40% of them. So it's a convoluted mess, and we're trying to get that all consolidated. But with anything like that, it takes time to get it done. But there have been those high-level conversations, and I told them, I believe that everybody should have to pay for this service, not just a distinct few. So I'm in favor of that, want to do it. And I have done exactly what I said 6 months ago here, that I was going to endeavor for them, and I had meetings with the board, and they were in agreement with it. It was trying to figure out how we do it, not that they didn't want to do it. Okay? Does that answer your question, John?
Yes, very good, thank you.
And if you don't receive contributions, say from Kings Point, is there a possibility in your contract with the county that you would have the right to stop serving Kings Point?
Yes.
Can you explain that a little bit?
Well, I don't really like going to that thing because it sounds like a threat. It's
No.
not meant as one, but it just, there have always been other places that wanted us to serve. Valencia Lakes, the lagoons, Cypress, all down there and all down on 19th Street, which are all titled Sun City. We don't serve them. They all want to be included. I have resisted it for many, many years because if you can't serve all of this, I think dilution of it would be good for the squad because we'd get more money, but it would be bad for service. And we want to be able to service what we do. So we have never added. Yours was the last contract we added in 1987. So we don't really change a lot. But yeah, that could change. And I can't just go at a street at a time here because the county's going to tell me, okay, let's just dump it and give you a new area, and then Kings Point would be under someone else. That's what would really, I think, happen. But it would have to go to the EMPC and all of this stuff. But we are a volunteer organization, so actually saying we're not going to service anymore, that could be done a lot easier than a pay for ambulance service.
And then just so everyone understands, There's no guarantee at any given time if someone contacted the squad that an ambulance would 100% be coming to serve them for their need, correct?
That's correct. And the reason is simple. If you could guarantee me that no more 1 or 2 people would get sick at any given time or need service, I could probably make that guarantee. But you can't, and there could be 6 or 7, and there are days when we're just stacked up with people wanting to call, and we can't do it. But Hillsborough even has a problem. If they're bringing an ambulance from Lithia or from Carrollwood down here to serve, what would that tell you about the inequity of service down here? Which is why we have partnered with the county to try and go against the county commissioners to bring more ambulances in here. And you do have 2 more ambulances here now than you had a year and a half ago from the county, because we need to be served, and we have been underserved for many years. You notice they keep letting permits go, but they didn't bring more services down here to support it. So that is another area that we are working in, and got the county to agree that they would never build another station where there wasn't an ambulance component in it. Because they did build stations which just had fire trucks. That doesn't do you a body good. Consider 99% of their calls are for EMS.
Yeah.
So, does that answer your question, Diane?
It does, thank you. And in regards to the van and wheelchair transport, how many vans do you have available to assist our residents with that transport?
We have 1 van on a day. I mean, we could put 2 on a day if we had the personnel, but we don't. But we do anywhere from 7 to 10 transports a day with the ambulance. We put a real priority on doing dialysis. And the reason is, if you don't know it, dialysis is a very invasive problem and going into it. And that has to be, you have to go to somebody 3 times a week. And if you're married and have a spouse, lifting a wheelchair, which you're eventually going to need, is a real problem. So we put that on there. We make a real priority of getting this done, where people go out, we go to their home, we pick them up, we take them to dialysis, and 5 hours later we do the whole thing in reverse. And it's a real good service for that. We'll also take primarily wheelchair-bound people to hospital or to doctor's appointments, because it's a lot easier to get them into our van and into with a wheelchair than it is for you to try and get them into a car. And we're trying to be assistance for that as much as we can.
And that's and just so Jim can talk about that, the difference between the Sun City San Ray Ambulance Squad doing that at no cost, Good Samaritans, but tell them what the difference is. Here.
Samaritans will transport people. However, they need to be ambulatory. They can use a walker, but they still have to be ambulatory. We do not do any wheelchair transports because we're volunteers also, and we can not ask our volunteer drivers to lift wheelchairs because most of them are volunteers from Sun City Center, and they're older drivers. In addition, with Samaritans, the main thing is, and if they do have to go somewhere for a procedure, they have to have a companion. I mean, it's just the way it works. But we do not transport anybody who is not ambulatory, is the best way to describe it.
And then under Medicare, Medicare does not provide non-emergency transport. If you have Medicare Advantage plans, there are some of those plans that will have non-emergency transportation, but you have to contact their vendor. Okay, and you have to make those arrangements 48 hours in advance on a schedule, and sometimes you get into the vehicle and you gotta go pick up somebody else. You know, so it's shared. So for the squad to provide that service, to be doing 6 or 7 calls to help people that are wheelchair bound or going to dialysis, that's a huge service to this community. And just speaking for myself as a homeowner in Southampton, that's worth $2.50 a month for me. So I'm just saying that that's a very valuable service, and I thank you and the squad for doing that every single day. Does anybody else on the board have any discussion for Mike? Where's that? Give me one of those.
I'll try to be as loud as I can.
No. Nobody was going to hear you.
First off, I support this, and I will vote for it. Sandy had a number of questions, and I'm not sure they were answered. Will she have a chance to ask Mike those questions later on? Because they were valid questions.
She can bring them up now, so the board can know.
Okay.
Sandy, you want to bring them up again? I think he did answer some of them. We talked about the cost.
Yeah. So this contract, I'm confused. What is this contract for? Is it just to put that amount back in our budgets?
Yes.
And the associations, they still can change their budget.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes, that's not an issue.
Okay, well, it is an issue, because if you're approving a contract that's in there and we're mandated to pay it, is that what the contract is? That we will be mandated to pay it?
Yes.
That's
Then-
correct.
Then,
So first of all, Sandy, this is just for the board
yeah.
to vote on this now. If approved, it will go to the membership. It's the membership that needs to vote on this.
Right,
Okay?
no, I understand that.
Okay,
I'm
but
just-
your answer is yes. If it's approved by the membership, then per house, per unit, per month is going to be $2.50 from the 5,525 houses in Kings Point. That's correct, for a 3-year contract.
A 3-year contract, so it will stay at $2.50 for 3 years.
Forever, it has never gone up.
It's never.
Never gone up.
Okay.
1987, it's never gone up.
So, and you answered the part about you're working with the Sun City Center CA, which has been probably on your table for 10 years. At
No,
least
it hasn't been on my
since I've
table.
been here.
Well, this has been something that I wanted to do, but I couldn't. You work with certain boards and you can't get anywhere, and now I have the allegiance of the board that wants to do this. Yes.
Good.
So that is a change,
Yeah,
but people in leadership positions, it becomes more challenging sometimes.
sure, I get that. I just wanted to say that it's, when you're sitting in Kings Point and you're asking us to pay a contract, and we're the only ones that are mandated to do it, there's a problem. I have a problem with that.
Well, you've always been mandated, since 1987. That was a contract between the developer, of which you have no choice in. That was one that was done. Nobody can find that contract. First Service can't find the contract, we can't find the contract, and neither can the county.
Is that
But
why
we
you're
know it was
bringing
written.
it up again?
I'm sorry?
Is that why you're bringing it up again? 'Cause
Yeah.
you can't find the contract?
Because we can't find it. And so you can't go back to a developer when there is none. So it has to go, in my mind, it has to go to the membership. You vote yea or nay on it, and that's the way it is. But it's the only fair way to do it. And I don't think the board has the ability to do that on their own, or shouldn't. It should be a membership vote.
Absolutely.
And that's why it was come up with doing a bulk contract. But make no doubt about it, you have always been mandated for doing that, and it goes back further than 1987. Because I will guarantee you that Apollo Beach Emergency Squad didn't come out of there to come and service you from the good of their heart. But
Okay. Okay. All right, well, I looked up on the website and I see that your revenue this year was $1,052,000. That's what your 990 says. And your expenses were $500,000, that you said already. You had $4 million in assets, and you have liabilities of $17,700. Where are you getting the rest of this money? If it's not even coming from Kings Point right now, because we don't have a contract.
well, you are paying it. Most of the people are paying it.
Yeah, we are paying it.
A lot of the associations are paying it, Sandy. They voted on it last year.
So again, I'm not sure that, I mean, I hear what you're saying. There has been a mysterious contract that we've had that nobody can find, and now somebody asked about it a couple of years ago and they took it out of the budget, and now you want to put it back in. That's the point of this, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And so how much of Kings Point contributes to your revenue?
In the last year, 104 associations.
Yeah, but money, how much is that?
Does that total? Well, I don't know, right off the hand, I'd say that's around 140,000.
Okay, so there's 900,000 other dollars that are coming in to the emergency squad.
But some of those come out from different sources. Some of them come from grants that we get to offset our stuff. But you gotta remember, that we're sitting on $4 million of equipment. If that goes bad, we gotta do it. So we gotta reserve money to be able to do that when it's necessary. And we have certain contracts that we have to do, that you have to update equipment. When it's medical equipment, they generally only warranty something for 7 years. So after that 7 years, because you can't afford to pay. On the gurneys and the lift mechanisms that we have, for example, they're warranted for 7 years. If you do something out of that 7 years, the cost is $500 an hour to have a tech come out. So it's really not beneficial to not have that contract. So we have to stage all this stuff, and we are pretty good at it. And we do get bequeaths, mainly from the other side, where they will give us their house when they die. Don't see that happen as much anymore, but that used to happen a couple years ago, but more frequently over on the other side than here.
Okay, is all your questions answered, Sandy?
I think so.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Dave Farrelly with Grand Plains. I'd like to ask Diane, what happened a year ago when one association challenged the voluntary need, this is a voluntary donation, and it was stated at the time, a year ago, when we put budgets together, that you couldn't force your residents to make a voluntary donation. Is that still factual or not factual?
So when that occurred, First Service had asked during the annual meetings each association to vote on it. And each association voted on it, and all the associations that passed it, the $2.50 were put back into their budget, and that was being paid to the Sun City Center Ambulance Squad for them.
It is still the requirement that you can't force your residents to make a voluntary donation.
Currently, that's correct. All right, with the contract, if the membership passes it, okay, then it will be a bulk contract for all associations in Kings Point that will participate in that bulk contract.
So then you will be forcing and I support I'm just asking, because
Yes.
last year there was a big discussion about whether you put it in your contract, your budget, or you don't put it in your budget. We elected to put it in our budget, we did it again this year. It's not a question, I'm not taking away from what the service is, I just want to know what the legal thing is. If you mandate it, then you're mandating that every resident is giving a voluntary
Well, that's the
donation.
membership, David, that will
It's the
be,
membership.
that'll be voting on
It's
this.
the membership does it.
That's correct.
Yes.
Yes, because there's 113 associations in the Federation, and if it's voted upon, then 113 associations will be paying $2.50 per unit per month for the bulk contract, just as the associations are paying for all other bulk contracts, whatever their contribution is. Okay? Yes?
Diane, what I hear you say is if we accept this contract, the $2.50 per month comes out of the association's discretionary budget and moves back up to the Federation to be a chargeback from the Federation to the unit owners. Is that correct?
Is that Richard English?
I don't think that sounds I don't think it's any different if it's approved by the membership. I don't think it's any different than the landscaping. So, for example, so however you view the landscaping is an appropriate way to view this.
Exactly. It moves out of the decision on behalf of the individual associations.
Correct.
To a federation decision, and therefore would be part of the association's charges to each individual unit.
Yes, that's true.
There we go.
It would be mandatory, correct?
That's correct. Just like you're paying for landscaping.
Yeah.
Just like you're paying for irrigation right now, right? I mean, just like everything else. Bulk contracts. Pest control, you're doing that right now, every month. This is no different.
Really much more important.
Debbie Dubasar, come on up. Okay, can we have quiet in the audience, please? So we can hear the question.
I have one question in regards to the associations. At the end of the year, when we have that donations at tax time, does each association get that tax break for when you, like a homeowner? You put in a donation, you're asked how much you do. So does each association, when the attorneys or the CPA does it for each association, do they get that benefit at the end of the year?
Associations do not get a tax break.
We don't pay that.
They don't
It's a
pay,
nonprofit.
you don't pay tax.
We don't pay tax.
Yeah, we don't pay tax.
Okay. That answers that. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Anyone else?
Cindy Clays, I'm from Nantucket 4. I've had a question posed to me about this. What happens if one of the membership doesn't pay, or doesn't want to contribute? Everybody in that area is blocked out, and they always have to wait for Hillsborough or call for their own individual ambulance. Is that an option we want to look for?
No, and I mean, I can't answer that right now. What would happen, and obviously it's gonna turn into a legal issue. We would look to take care of that, with talks ahead of time, but that's something we wouldn't be able to answer right now. I'm sure you understand that.
If you think about it, it's $30 a year for every household, and that is an amazing value as far as I'm concerned. I don't think,
All right, I need quiet in the audience, please.
I don't think
So I
any
can
other
hear.
company would, I don't think there's any other entity that would provide this service, and it's a great service for that little money per household. And just a quick clarification, just because I know this is taped and I wouldn't want it to go unremarked, we do not pay taxes on our core activities because we're not-for-profit, but we do pay taxes on our investment income. So, not that that's important to this discussion, but it should be on the record as such.
Thank you. No.
It is one. It's just that.
All right. Here, Margaret.
Hello?
Yeah, I know, everybody knows me as Mickey, but I have to be official. My question is, what did the attorney say when you contacted him? Was there any problem?
A problem? No, the only thing that was necessary was to be a little more specific on the scope of work, and that has been spelled out in the contract of how they provide basic life support 24 hours a day, and what they will be responding to. The medical van wheelchair transport has been ended, blood pressure checks at the building, their Viola Life program, their education, that has all been spelled out, so it's been specific of what the Sun City Center Ambulance Squad would be providing to Kings Point. And of course, that's depending upon availability. So that's all been spelled out in the contract, and that was a big point that the Federation attorney wanted to make sure was in there so that the residents could see that and know what the ambulance squad would be providing. Okay, folks, we're gonna make a vote because this is just for the
One more
board.
question.
Call for the question.
For the moment, the microphone has been resuscitated by the emergency squad.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, this is the last question because this is for the board's vote.
I just want to know if the residents will receive a copy of the contract before the membership.
Yes, they will. Absolutely.
Excuse me, Diane, I got another question.
Yeah, Tom.
What is the length of the contract?
It's 3 years.
Is it spelled out in the contract?
It certainly is.
Can you tell me the page?
On page 2, it says the effective date is April 1st, 2025, and then under section 3.3, it says
Okay,
the
yes,
termination is March 31st, 2028.
Thank you.
Any other board questions or discussions? Shirley?
I think there needs to be a.
You're not on, you're in red, I see it, okay.
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 So, this contract's a little different. Admittedly, I'm on the squad too, but this contract's a little different. This is a fee-for-service contract. And the service is your emergency services. So it's looked at a little different than forcing you to pay for a volunteer. Does that make any sense?
Yes.
Yes.
That's all I had.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, just real quick.
Go ahead.
It seems to be
Can't hear you.
Here.
I did.
All right, here you go, Randy. We found one that's working.
Okay, I apologize, I thought that was working, but I'm just trying to clarify for everybody. There is nothing being done to force anybody. This is your decision to make at the membership vote. This is strictly the board trying to do something. Personally, I had my wife taken to the hospital. The services were not available. The county did it. It was $1,400. That's to the hospital right here. Okay? It's $30 a year. I'm gonna vote for it. I'm a strong proponent of it. I just want you to understand, even if we vote for it right now, that does not make it mandatory. That is your choice to do when it comes to the membership vote. Like people keep walking up and saying it's voluntary, it's voluntary, it's voluntary. It is right now. That's why we're trying to get the contract done, so that we have the availability of the services for $30 a year.
All right, thank you, Randy. Anybody else? No. All right. Madam Secretary, will you take a roll call vote, please? Let's see if it works.
President Daniels,
Yes.
Vice President Gundry,
Yes.
Secretary Mays is yes, Treasurer Resnick,
Yes.
Director Bardell,
Yes.
Director Harnois,
Yes.
Director Martin,
Yes.
Director Ricketts,
Yes.
Director Shaw.
Absolutely.
The measure is passed.
Okay, unanimously. We approve the bulk contract for the EMS services and move it to the membership. Okay, so a copy of the contract, which is here and final, will be sent to each president of their board of each association. Make sure you get with your board and your residents to go over it. That's your obligation. At the membership meeting this month, we will vote on it. Okay? All right, thank you for that, everyone. Let's see, where are we? Oh, yeah, trash. You're going to be so happy to hear this. So, the trash contract is hung up with the attorneys, so we don't even have to talk about that today. Yeah, so it's very minimal, stuff just protecting the Federation and the residents, so that should be taken care of hopefully within the next week. And if we have to have a special meeting, we will, but right now we don't have to vote on that contract because it's not ready. It's back and forth to both of them. Okay, so we're going to make a motion to postpone the approval of the trash and recycling service contract. Thank you, Randy. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Jim. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? All right, so moved to postpone. Jim said, his only contract, we go from trash and attorneys in the same breath, okay. All right, it's time for good and welfare. God, do we need some good and welfare.
We've been dealing with attorneys on the contracts so long, it's like, and it's been very frustrating when we're trying to get all this stuff done on schedule, and they're saying, well, we need to talk about it.
Chris Robinson, President Portsmouth. Paul, we've been, a lot of my friends and stuff, we've talked about the first timers orientation. I think it would be good to have the entities of Kings Point at that, the COA, the Federation rep, the master rep, so that they get all the information firsthand rather than hearsay through neighbors. And the other thing I want to say to the folks here, I had a talk with Paul after the town hall, and he is the president of his association where he lives, so he feels the pain that we have. And I think he's going to make a great addition to Kings Point. Thanks.
Hey, thank you, Chris. Good morning, Lucy.
Good morning, Lucy Malakis from Edinburgh. I'm not going to talk about landscaping.
Thank God.
Thank you. No, I have actually a question. It involves the restrooms, the one here, and obviously I'm going to talk about the ladies, and the one off of the, in the front there by the theater. I know they have handicapped stalls in there. I did have a neighbor who's using a walker and very limited mobility right now. She said she can't even go in there because the things you hold on to, or the handles are too high for her to get up and down. But the other thing I noticed the other day, I was going in there and there was a lady trying to get in there. She had a walker, and she had to kind of, shove with the door. Is there not a thing so that handicapped people can push a button and the door opens? How does that happen?
Matt, do you know about that?
I'll have to look into it.
You're speechless, aren't you?
I haven't been in the women's restroom in 4 years, so.
No, I was just a question I had, because I never.
It's been a year of transition for me. I will have to look into it further.
This was something that I noticed, and
I'll be here all week.
Be quiet. Be quiet. And my only other question is, where was the joke today? I mean, that's the only reason I
Well,
get
I gave you the
bored.
temperature this morning.
It wasn't fun.
I'm really sorry. You know I'm going to tell you jokes at the membership meeting. All right.
You just said the joke, actually.
I've been joking for the whole meeting. Hey, Eileen, how are you?
Short.
See, it's contagious, everyone.
Apparently too short. Okay. I just wanted to remind everybody.
It looked like Steven Tyler with that microphone. Come on.
Yeah, on December the 20th is the lighting contest, so if you want to have us be judging this is for the COA, the house lighting, that's going to be the evening after dark on December the 20th. Then on that Saturday, the 21st, will be the golf cart parade. We've been getting applications and we'll be of people who will be meeting up here at the North Clubhouse and taking a ride through the community with the golf cart parade. And we have literature at the COA, and I'll be putting some things up on that.
Oh, good. Is there going to be a map published like they did before?
Yes.
Okay, good.
But I have to know which houses want to be part of it, so I put the map up, and then also the map for the trip around on the golf carts.
Right.
And Eileen, if you somehow get that together in some paper form or something, and you'd like to give it to First Service, we'll approve that to be disseminated to everybody.
Thank you.
You're very welcome, and thank you for doing that. Always good with some holiday cheer. Anybody else? Good and welfare. Okay, Susan. Good and welfare. Good. Atta girl. Things are getting better and better around here.
But I do have a question from a resident.
Sure.
And it has to do with the ambulance.
Push it down. There you go.
It has to do with the ambulance service. And it's purely knowledge for me and for him to know. He was picked up by the county yesterday, the day before. My question is, he has one of those buttons that he got from the
life alert.
or whatever. He wants to know why when he pushed that button, because he couldn't, well, he had a problem. Anyway, how come the county came out?
Okay, so he'll have to talk to the vendor who does the life alert.
My question is the button connected with the county? Or he would have to call the separate number for...
That's correct.
But if he can't get to a phone because of his emergency, then what the heck you do? You push the button.
And Mike, I think Mike has something to say about that. And I'm sure it has a lot to do with the vendor of the Life Alert.
It's legit.
Life Alert, we're connected to Life Alert too. They call us most of the time, but there must have been something in there that was out of our protocols to do, so then we would call county. And I know that everybody wants to save money, but if we go out there and we tell you you need to go to the county, it means that you need more medical care than we are permitted to give you. If you need drugs, and I know it's potentially an expense with Hillsborough comes.
I need drugs, Mike.
We all need drugs.
Yeah.
Or
I'm glad
alcohol.
I can find a favorite subject. But if you need it, I want you to be here. So I'd rather have you be able to complain about getting a bill later. You know, we just need to do this kind of stuff. If you're having a heart attack, I don't have the drugs to give you. They do. So that's why we would insist on you going with them, and they're going to want that anyway. And I can't override an advanced life system for basic life, okay?
No problem. Thank you, Michael. Okay, everybody, let's get the hell out of here. Somebody give me a motion to adjourn. Somebody. Thank you, Richard. All right, man. Thank you. This is it. Firm.
Okay, when a Lifeline button, which I have on, but there are many other companies other than Lifeline.
Yes.
But with the Lifeline, with the men's club and all that, when that button goes off, it goes to Boston. That's where it is. Boston will call the emergency squad. And then if it's heart, stroke, or seizure or something, then we have to go, but we call the county as well. But it goes to Boston. It is not here right direct.
I know there's many vendors and they all have different protocols, so, but thank you for that information. Okay, Richard, and the second? Thank you, Randy. All in favor? Oh, shit. Sorry, Karen Coons, where are you? I am so sorry. If everybody wants to hear this, now that the meeting is over, Karen Coons is our liaison, okay, to the Rules Association. And she just wants to give you corporation, she wants to give you a little info. Come on up, Karen. I'm sure you all want to hear this because everybody's been talking about it. Thank you, Karen.
Hi everyone, I'm Karen Coons. I am the board appointee of the Rules and Regulations Association. Since I was appointed, I've been researching how this association is set up and the details on how it works. There are lots of documents and many, many layers. So, if you're interested in learning more about this association, how it's set up to make decisions, and the options for possible ways to move forward, I invite you to an informational meeting on December 13th at 11:30 in the morning at the Waterside Room. And I also believe that this is going to be posted so people that aren't here will also get the invitation.
What time?
What if you're not going to be here then?
How will we get the invitation?
There you go, Karen. It's at 11, first questions first, December 13th at 11:30 in the Waterside Room.
What if you're not going to be here that particular day?
Can we get it?
No.
The documents are online.
Yeah.
The documents are online.
We'll give out your email address.
No.
Yes, we will. And then if anybody wants to partake in any of that, they can let you know that.
So Karen, I think you're going to be touching base on the documents, some of the challenges with the rules and reg system, the voting process, blah, blah, blah. So if anybody wants a one-on-one or we can set up a little group, I'm more than happy to also help facilitate anything you'd like. Not that I want to be involved in any of this, but if I can help talk to any of that, let me know.
I want to be on that, so I can harass you.
I know you do. So good to hear.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Karen.